Today, the 20th of October 2023, is day 14 of our war against Hamas. For those of you who are new to this channel, my name is Zaka. I've been a Kibbutz member for 53 years. I created this channel 10 months ago to show the reality of Kibbutzim after many changes were made over the last 30 years. But since the outbreak of our war against Hamas, my channel has taken a completely new direction. I found myself compelled to tell the world how we feel. I'm no expert in war. I'm no expert in Kibbutzim. I'm just an old guy telling you how I feel, how we feel here on the ground. I too served in a combat unit 40 years ago. Then I served 17 years in active reserve duty. All of my kids, my son, my daughter, and my 3 stepsons have all served in combat units. Some of my step-grandkids now are in uniform in the regular army. You may see our soldiers as soldiers without really looking at the faces and seeing who they are. You see uniforms. We see them all as family. Hamas is out to kill all of us, both civilians out of uniform and civilians in uniform, and civilians who are not yet old enough to be in uniform. They want us dead. This is not distant for us. This is up close and personal. The IDF, the Israel Defense Force, is us. On Black Shabbat, the 7th of October, 2 weeks ago, Hamas showed us who they are. Since then, all the 4 Israeli channels are reporting that murderous, inhuman attack. Stories are coming up by the hour from survivors. We see now recorded images on personal phones of that first horrific 7 hours. We see now on WhatsApp text messages as those civilians were fighting for their lives, pleading for their lives, barricaded in their own homes against the Hamas. We see now how terrorists broke into Kibbutzim. They went directly to homes to kill, rape, and defile, to behead babies. We see now how 1,000-strong mob from Gaza came through the fence to burn and loot Kibbutzim. Before I give you details, I want to stop and warn you that my report is not so easy to hear. So if you have a weak stomach, please skip this episode. I want to tell you about an organization whose sole job is a holy mission. 682 Orthodox religious guys from all over Israel are volunteers in Zaka. Zaka is an instant response unit, but they don't carry guns. They carry body bags. They are on call 24/7 to recover dead, victims of terrorist atrocities. They are committed to retrieving the dead and remains of victims. They collect body parts for later forensic analysis. They are angels of recovery who care for the dead, who care for their bodies, who care for their souls. They care for the families who lost loved ones. They understand those families' grief and need for closure. Yossi Landau, the southern commander of Zaka, gave his testimony on Israeli television and on foreign media. He described the absolute horror he found in Kibbutz Be'eri. He said that in all of his years of working for Zaka, 30 or more years, he has never seen anything like this in his life. He described his slow, painstaking work of collecting evidence of atrocities, bodies, blood-stained clothing, ID cards, personal belongings, pieces of skin and bone, and more. He slowly entered one home in Kibbutz Be'eri. What he found there was a Dante's Inferno, a hell on earth, unimaginable, that you could never have even thought of in your worst horrific nightmares. I'll say it again. This is a warning. If you cannot bear to hear these details, please stop here. Now, before I recorded this message, I looked closely at the limits and the algorithms and the rules of YouTube about no profanity, no insult, no graphic images. So I just hope that YouTube will allow me to upload these details. Yossi Landau entered this house very, very slowly. He didn't want to disturb any of the evidence for later forensic analysis. This is what he found. A dead mother and a dead father were sitting across the room from their dead young children, two of them. Both the parents and their children had their hands bound. They had been facing each other while those Hamas monsters tortured them. Their death had been agonizingly slowly. The mother had been pregnant. Her stomach had been cut open. Her dead fetus had been stabbed. It was still attached, dangling by its umbilical cord. Opposite them, their two little kiddies had been torched alive. Who died first, the children or the parents? There are no words to describe what had happened or how long it had taken. But despite atrocities like this, when the Israel Defense Force goes in on the ground, we are not looking for revenge. We are not looking even for justice, because I think there is no sufficient justice for these crimes. We are looking for an end to this form of evil and inhumanity. The scourge of Hamas must be eradicated. It must totally disappear. It must be wiped out. If this cancer isn't stopped here by us, by the Israelis in uniform, it will spread to you. It will get to the rest of the world. Just remember what ISIS did in Manchester Arena, in London, in New York, in Paris and elsewhere. The Israel Defense Force of uniformed civilians will stop this before it reaches you. Please tell others about this. Thank you, and share this awful, terrible tragedy. Let the rest of the world know. Thank you. Shalom and Le'traot. It means goodbye, and I'll see you again.